This lesson is on probability. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to show the probability of an event as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. Let's define a couple things. Probability is a number that shows how likely, or if it's really something that will happen, or what's the possibility that something will occur or happen. The complement, remember complementary? A complement is a number that shows how likely an event will not occur. And the reason why we say that is complementary, because when we have two angles here that they add up, and actually I'm showing you a supplementary angle, but a complementary angle is two angles that are add up to 90 degrees. You have these two angles that are 90 degrees. They complement each other. Well, think of this as probability and the probability that it will not happen. Probability and the not probability, and they add up, they complement you. This is the complement to this. So that's where that term comes from, at least in some respect. So probability is a part-to-whole relationship, just like fractions and ratios, and that's how we're going to be dealing with it. That's why we say we're going to deal with it like a fraction, a decimal, and a percent. Two things to ask yourself. What is the part? And what is the whole? Then you write it as a fraction and convert it to decimal and percent. So let's take a look at this and get my page adjusted correctly. And let's say we have a coin here and it has two sides. Well, we want to know the probability of tails. So we have a part to whole relationship, and it is tails to the whole. Well, there are how many sides on a coin? Two sides on a coin, and there's only one tail. So it is a 1 out of 2 relationship. Well, let's convert it to a decimal. The key to converting fractions to decimals is to divide. 1 divided by 2. 1 divided by 2. 2 goes into 1 0 times. Write our decimals down. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and we see that we're done here. So the decimal is 0.5 or 5/10, and we know we can write that as a percent by moving our decimal 2 places so that we create the hundredths, because remember percent is per hundred, so that is 50%. So it's 1 out of 2, 0.5, or 50%. Let's take a look at the next one. We have a spinner here. What is the likelihood that it will spin red? We'll spin it one time and see what happens, but it landed on yellow. So what is the likelihood, though, that it will land on red? Okay, we'll spin this a few more times, see what happens, and we'll get into a lesson there. It happened, finally. We'll get into a lesson on theoretical versus experimental. So again, we have a part to whole relationship, and our part is 1, 2. We have 2 red parts, and we have 4 total parts. So it's 2 out of 4, and I can simplify that as 1/2, and 1/2, we already have the answers for that, is 0.5 equals 0.5, and it equals 50%. Now we have a die, and we can spin that. We know that a die has 6 sides. So what is the probability of us rolling this 5? So we go with part to whole, and our part, there's only one 5, so we can write that down. And our whole, there are 6 sides on this, so it is a 1 out of 6 chance. Or we can convert that to a decimal. 1 divided by 6. 1 divided by 6. Put our decimals down. 6 goes into 10 one time. And bring down, 6 goes into 40 6 times. And that's 30. 6 times 6 is 36. 4. Bring this down. It goes, looks like our 6 is going to be a repeating decimal. So it is, we would write 1.66 repeating, or 1.6, 0.16, and that the 6 So we have to figure out how to turn this into a decimal. Well, we move it over 2 places, and so so that we find our hundredths place, and let's round this up. So instead of 16%, this is 17%, because we know that this 6 keeps repeating. And that's why I'm rounding up, is because if we look at this number right next to it, if I put this here, I have 16.6, and that means 5 or more raise a score. I have to actually turn that into 17% to be a little more accurate, so 17%. And that's how you find the part, you find the whole, write it as a fraction, convert it to a decimal, then a percent.